Hey subscribers, welcome to the review of Season 5 Battle 19, Orks vs Orks. Now I've spent all day just doing the introduction. Stop motion, moving all these orcs around the board. I've really taken on a little bit too much I think on this one, just the number of orcs and moving them around, but I'll show you the table at this stage. This is deployment. So as I said, I've basically had the storyline segment where you would have seen it last week, where the orcs walk down the aisle, if you like. They get into a bit of a skirmish, blow up the aisle itself, and then the in-laws start to take each other on. So we've got some bad moons on this side, pretty much, and an assortment of just different types of orcs over here. Really just tried to keep the colour schemes the same, just so it's easy to track, because sometimes you can't see who's on what side. But anyway, that's what we've really got at this stage. We've got bad moons over that side, ready to take some vengeance. We've got the Yars and everyone sitting in this area here, just in prison if you like, not taking part in this battle, but just sitting there. The Ork leaders and the music Doppelgangers are sitting there, and Blats over here sitting there with the relic, just to overlook the battlefield to see what's actually happening. So there we have it, Orks versus Orks. We'll see what happens. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn one, and I'm not sure what I'm going to call these orcs on this side. At this stage I'm going to go with the Doppelgangers, being two groups of the musicians here, and that's going to be basically the band name, combined band name, and with Blats obviously on one side from season 4 I think it was. Okay, so over here all the orcs have basically moved across the board, heavily mechanised, both sides are, so they've just rambled across the board. We had the mine layer here, actually just place a mine out there. We'll wait and see what happens with that in a future turn. No real action apart from the Stomper taking a shot right down there and taking out the Squigoth here. So that's the only casualty we've got, but it's the first half of turn one. Nothing else happening over here. Mitch is still staying in his prison. Orc bosses up here not doing anything either. So that took half a day to basically move those guys for one turn, for their one turn. So I'll no doubt do half a day's worth of movement over there, and after about a week of doing this we should be able to have the battle done. So there we have it, first half of turn 1, battle 19. Okay, here we are at the end of the second half of turn 1, and really we have almost needs a campfire in the middle really, and all these orcs sort of sitting around it. It's kind of like supposed to be an orc celebration, this battle. I haven't quite worked out the exact storyline yet for this one, but it's going to be hopefully fairly entertaining. We had the bad moons here, it's their turn. They basically moved across the board here, various cans, hoping to get into combat and really trying to carve up the Stomper. They really want to get in amongst that, but they're too far away obviously at the moment. So all these trucks are basically just trundled across the board. We're trying to get around the back of here as well, because there's a couple of sneaky little orcs trying to come up the back here and get in amongst these guys here, but they're going to try and head them off. That bus is full to the brim of boys ready to come bursting out. See what happens there. We've still got a heap of stuff up here ready to come out. Some aircraft, boys, some storm boys there for the bad moons ready to come out. So they're ready to come through. Over here we had a couple of tanks take out. I'll actually show you the casualties. One biker tank. So we had the Morkanaut here come up and take out one here, vehicle there, and also these two tanks take one out from over there. So not a lot of casualties. We've got still a heap of tanks and heavy weaponry on the table. Not a lot of boys as such, but we'll see what happens. But all those bad moons are fairly exposed over this side, and we've got a lot of firepower on this side ready to take them out. Look at that. Anyway, it's late at night, so I'll leave it there. That's the end of turn 1. We'll see what happens in turn 2 in a minute. End of the first half of turn 2. It's been a huge turn. The Doppelgangers, which were really positioned around the outside here, have really tried to focus and come through this side, just using this tower as cover here. So all these boys and bikes and etc, all bunched up trying to use some cover here, because no one really wanted to step out into the middle and get shot up. We did have the Stomper give the Morkanaut death cannon in the face. So right, okay, we had some aircraft come in here, and really they spent their time shooting up this tank, or what was that tank? This one just here, just there. He was sitting there. So we had everyone else just basically move up, full speed, full Ork speed, as you'd expect. Everyone else really repositioned themselves. These tanks here, this one here, fired and took out a tank which was there. So that's the other one sitting over on that shelf over there. And the rest were really in the way. They had to come around the back here of this building, try to sneak attack everyone on the other side. So they're kind of sitting. I suppose this guy here is just waiting for him to sit around the corner here and just go kapow. Nonetheless, they've moved around the back, trying to take a position there. There was a tank there that got hit by a drifting Ork version of a Tyrannid spore mine. Drifted across the battlefield, kaboom! Didn't blow it up, but the tank got it. That tank got it there at the end. Look, that's really about it. So we've got the Morkanaut here, who's feeling pretty damaged at this stage, still alive. Don't know what it's going to do. It's probably not going to go toe to toe with the Stomper there. It's probably going to sneak off around this building here and see what it can do. Anyway, that's what we have at the end of the first half of turn 2. Hey subscribers, here we are at the end of turn 2, second half of turn 2. And the Bad Moons have had their turn. And I've been spending hours up in this room doing these stop motion videos. And I don't know if you can hear that. I've got to get a better mic, but can you hear that? Just up in that area? Birds. Birds, I tell you. And they've been talking all day, all night. And it's driving me crazy. But anyway, back onto what really matters. Second half of turn 2, Bad Moons have had their turn and have basically moved across the board. Look at this casualty list over here. That's all they've taken out this turn. That is just hopeless. But in saying that, let's just have a look at what's happened. Over this side of the board, the Doppelgangers, I should say, tried to sneak around the back here in their trucks and try and take these guys out, but they get met with that. So one guy got taken out. I don't know what they're going to do next turn. They're probably going to turn tail and run, because there's a fair bit of heavy weaponry up here. Over this side we had this guy here driving this aircraft variant. Underneath that there's a buzzsaw, and used for melee combat. It's trying to get in amongst that armour up there and take it out. But he's just hiding up there under some cover, waiting for his chance. He was in the back of that truck, snuck around the back into there, and got replaced by another dude just ready to come into the back of that truck. The school bus full of boys really can't get into the action at the moment. It's just coming up there. We had various infantry excuse me, move its way across the board. One biker got taken out with combined fire from trucks at the front and some heavy weapon fire from there. These cans here really are trying to get in and amongst the stomper over there, but are trying to use this big tower as cover. Likewise the Morkanaut. Morkanaut was just standing here ready to try and take out the stomper. It could have gone toe to toe with the stomper, but it took that cannon shot and really thought, well, what am I going to do here? I'll just, instead of charging in and probably losing a fight there, came around the back of this tower into cover and really kind of isolates the stomper over there. The stomper hasn't got a lot of options really. Looked like a good idea at the time, lots of cover at the front, lots of cover at the side, but it's really sort of everyone else has moved the other direction, so we'll wait and see what he can do next turn. But the Morkanaut's really going to take a central position and try and take the stomper out of play. Over the back of the board we had a Dakka jet come flying in and try and take out this tank here. Likewise we had some Storm Boys touch down just here and take a good position at the back. So really at this stage the Doppelgangers are looking surrounded. Looks like a lot of bad moons. There's still an awful lot of heavy weaponry here. A lot of big cannons. Still got the Stomper, which it's taken a few hits. Likewise, yeah, look, the Stomper did take a hit this turn from the looted Rust there. But, you know, they've got a lot of firepower still left, so we'll wait and see if the Doppelgangers can take some bad moon casualties. Turn 3 coming up soon. Check all this out. Orks everywhere, scattered skirmishes all over the board. This is the end of the first half of turn 3. So what we had here is we had a group of Orks come in through the back of this tower here and fire down into what was a Leman Russ just sitting there. That Leman Russ had already taken fire from various sources across the board, but they're taking a fairly strategic position there on top of this tower, ready to take out some more later on. Stomper, who's all blocked into this little area here, can't really go anywhere, took out that, contributed to take out that Leman Russ as well. So really, he's not doing much. He's kind of trapped over here. So we'll see what happens with that in the next turn. We had a bit of hijinks over here with this Dakka jet taking out another jet, opposing jet just there. And we had a slight bending of the rules with Snickrot taking out the jet as well. Anyway, over here we had the group of trucks. They were going to go around the back of that building there, but there's a whole heap of Orks just round behind there. Decided to come back over this way and try and reinforce this side. Over here we've got some commandos who are also going to take a try and take out these Storm Boys here. Grots had firing into this area as well, and I think 3 casualties were there. So that's really all we had. Oh no, we had some more. We had these 2 vehicles here take out that giant big long truck that's sitting over here. Closer look at that. So that was taken out, and we had the Dread come up here and take out that crazy flying Ork riding a small mini little plane. This little thing here was taken out. So there we have it. Look, the Bad Moons had the upper hand really up until that turn, but there were quite a few casualties taken out, all that there, so it kind of levels the playing field. It's really fairly evenly balanced at this stage. We'll wait and see what happens next. Here we are at the end of the second half of turn 3, and it's the Bad Moons have had their turn, and it's taken quite a few casualties to even up the battle a fair bit. While I've been editing between turns, I've actually realised that it's only 2 more battles after this at the end of the season. At this stage I've mapped out the entire season 6 just in basically dot point form. to sort of plan that out. So it's pretty exciting how that's going to eventuate, but that's going to be next year. Anyway, let's just look at this half turn that we're looking at the moment. So Bad Moons have had their turn. We had the Morkanaut poke its head out behind this tower here and take a shot at the Stomper, just showing enough to tempt the Stomper to have a shot next turn. But a bit concerning here for the Stomper is a whole big swag of killer cans, which with those nasty buzzsaws and claws, etc., will eventually cause a fair bit of damage to the already wounded Stomper. So the Stomper's going to have a choice: try and have a shot at the spouse, or take out the cans. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. Moving into the middle, we had two casualties there. We had a bike and a truck, both take fire from here and here. The mega knobs just charged forward, trying to get into close combat with their claws. The old school bus, full to the brim of Orks, is still coming up here. We'll wait and see what happens with that. We had the weird boy coming into close combat, really not to close combat, but move up across the board. Really hasn't had much of a go yet, but we will do shortly. Combined fire from the big guns here took out the Dread sitting there, and over the back here, 3 Bad Moon knobs are making their way to try and come around the back. Really probably just going down there being bait to try and give those trucks something to think about around that side, because the Doppelgangers are looking a bit overwhelmed at this stage. I mean, there was something over here. The tank that was sitting there was taken out by the Storm Boys, so they're quite a threat there as well. So like I said, the Doppelgangers have got their hands full trying to push this Bad Moon tide back. So we've got first half of turn 4 coming up shortly for the Doppelgangers, so hopefully they'll be able to carve some numbers out of the Bad Moon side. Alright, stay tuned. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 4, and I'm having heaps of fun with this one. A lot of hijinks going on with the Orks. I haven't really done any editing at this stage, but I really have a picture in my mind as far as what I want to do, as far as the editing later on, and I just take a few photographs around that area as I go, so you'll understand what I mean as we move through the first half of turn 4. So we've had the Doppelgangers have their move. The truckers over here took the bait and shot at the Orks in mega armour over there, taking out one. Over this side there was a group of knobs in mega armour just there, and it took the fire of both of these vehicles here, and also the fire of these trucks here as well to take them out, I should say. Over here we had some Scorcher activity, taking out a couple of Orks standing there, and over this side we had the commandos charge into this group of Storm Boys. But before they actually fought, we had fire from the Gretchen, which didn't do anything, and we had the Dakar Jet come in and fire at them as well. So after the commandos came in, they took 2 casualties, and also 2 casualties were on the attacking side, so that is just sitting there. Moving over to this side, this is where I had a bit of fun with the Stomper. The Stomper laid out its cargo at the back, and as I said, I've got to do a bit of editing around that. Hopefully that's quite entertaining. We had a choice for the Stomper, whether to do the right thing and take out all those cans there, or fire and take out the Morkanaut, which is now sitting there as a casualty. So hugely exposed the Stomp at the moment to all those cans with all those buzzsaws and claws that should really do some damage, if not take out the Stomper there. We also had the knobs up here. They had a choice to sort of jump down into combat with those and try and basically block up this area to stop them sort of getting to the Stomper, but they just stood there and didn't enter melee combat, fired and took out one in the middle there. So that's really where... Oh, we also had some sporadic gunfire from the Orks that came out here, which managed to take out one can just there. So a lot of Orks back. So there you go, that's the first half of turn 4 for the Doppelgangers. We had the Bad Moons with really a lot of numbers on their side, but they're really thinning out at this stage. But you know, there's a lot of heavy firepower at the back here. Just take out one or two of those tanks. You know, it could be fairly even if that Stomper's taken out this next turn. Anyway, that's what we have at the end of the first half of turn 4. Second half of turn 4. Blood Moons. Still an awful lot of Orks on the table. I guess those tanks hold up a lot more in the later editions. Except for that Stomper there that finally got smashed by oncoming cans. They came through that gap, smashed the Stomper, and now they sit there. We've got all those boys there and this group of Orks up here, which could possibly come down, and don't know how that's going to work out just yet. In the middle here we had some movements in and out of this tank here. We had this little buggy roll out of the tank, sit there, try and take a shot at that, and these knobs in mega armour piled in there. We had some shots from these guys taking out one buggy over there. The weird boy just came from over there, just stuck behind this tank getting some cover. It's going to get into closer combat. We had the Grot tank, Soul Grot tank, just come down from this little outcrop here. These tanks and the Zap gun took out the mine layer that was there. Out of the bus poured all the boys. They're all just hanging in there, looking like a giant big target for something. Don't know what. Anyway, we'll wait and see. Moving around this side of the board, we had Zagstruck and his Storm Boys break from combat with the commandos, come across here, jump up and take out the Dacker jet that was just sitting there. So that's where that sits, but they are facing some serious attacks in the next turn. Got Snickrot still sitting here, ready to take people out. Over this side we saw one tank taken out by Bad Moons, mega armour, and I think that's about it. Did have the assorted fire from this Grot tank over here. He had a shot as well. Didn't really do too much. Oh yeah, there was a Scorcher that was taken out. So we had Scorcher as a casualty. We had the mine layer, one tank, Dacker jet, and those are a couple of guys I forgot to pack away from last turn. So, and the Stomper that's sitting over here, ready to be packed away. So the bride and groom, or whatever, have been taken out, and now the in-laws are basically just going to slug it out until there's no one left, as Orks do. So at this stage, as far as the story goes, the Orks are just going to slug it out with each other, and then Mitch, etc. are going to break out of there. We've got the relics still up here, and we've probably got a couple of key characters who are going to enter the scene in just a moment. So anyway, that's the end of turn 4. I've got turn 5 coming up shortly. we are at the end of the first half of turn 5, and normally by this stage of the battle we have not many models left on the board because they're all pretty much taken out, but these orcs basically shooting each other, and orcs can't shoot for nuts, and so there's still basically two sides for the orcs. They're basically sitting here taking pot shots at each other here and here, and look, there's quite a lot left on the board. Well, we did have quite a few casualties this turn. That's all casualties, all that, so we took a few out, so they are thinning out. But anyway, basically over this side of the board we had these trucks back up and fire into that. Well, there was two of those guys standing there, there's only one now. Over here we had the last of the Storm Boys, and they were assaulted by Snickrot and his gang and the Blood Axe Commandos there. So they were taken out. The Grots came forward, Gretchen came forward and tried to take out that truck there, and you can just imagine how that went, not real good. But the big play of the turn is the tank here hit some sort of Promethean storage underneath this little section here, and there was a whole big swag of boys standing on top of that, and they went up like a inferno, taking them all out, and the back end of that truck as well. So that's kind of like obviously a fair bit of narrative license on that, but that's effectively what happened. Over this side, trucks came moving around and took out a transport there, this baby here. So he was taken out, and the cans were assaulted by two groups of orcs. 1, 2, they basically both charged in, took out 3 cans, but the cans with their high strength close combat weapons basically took out a chunk of orcs as well, but those cans are pretty well pinned in the side there, so that combat will probably continue over the next turn and a half, and we'll see how that pans out. Nothing else over this side of the board. This is all Bad Moons. Over here it's their turn next, so at this stage I really can't say which way it's going to go. It's fairly evenly balanced, so at the end of this next turn what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing in the Inquisitor, who's trying to secure the relic again, and there's a few other elements that I'm trying to draw together in this battle, because we've only got 2 battles left for the season, so look, it's a good idea to try and clean all those loose ends up. Anyway, there we are, that's the end of the first half of turn 5. Here we are at the second half of turn 5, and the Bad Moons have really made some inroads into the Doppelgangers. Let's start over this side of the board. We had the sole remaining Bad Moon Nob come in and take out one of the trucks. So it's truck versus Nob. Over this side we had those two weapons, the Zap Cannon and the large tank there. Try and take this one out here. Not to no avail. It's been heavily wounded, that tank. Anyway, we had the Grot tank jump into the back of this truck, which was the bus that got taken out back there before, and it flew through here and just mowed down a whole heap of Grots. So it's sitting there right in the middle of those guys. Moving over this side of the board, there was some various tanks that were taken out, trucks that were taken out by the advancing Bad Moon Nobs. This truck here tried to fire and take that out, didn't work, and one truck was taken out by the combined firepower of the Weird Boy and the other mob. Over this side, this combat still continues. 2 cans left, whole heap of boys being taken out. It's fairly evenly, I wouldn't say it's actually even at this stage. Those cans. There's only 2 of them left and they can only take out so many boys, and just the sheer power of numbers will win the day, I would say here. You know, you've got power claws, this guy here, there's a power claw over there as well, so just those high strength weaponry will be enough to take those cans out. So that's where it really sits at the end of turn 5. We've got 1 turn to go. Could go either way, we'll wait and see what happens. Turn 6 for the Doppelgangers. What we had here is we had Snickrot and his large band of companions, and the remaining Blood Axe Commandos charge in and take out School Bus. School Bus is no longer, and the Grot tank, which was hitching a ride with the bus, spilled off the back and is just sitting there ready to do whatever in the last turn. We had the Zap gun get taken out here, and we also had this truck wheel around and try and take out the last remaining knob there in Mega Armour, but didn't do it. So that's fairly exposed there, that truck, so we'll see how that rolls out. Gretchen came charging in and took out a truck, which seems a bit unrealistic, but managed to do so. Over this side we had these 3 trucks wheel around and take out 1 Ork from that mob there. Over this side this battle continues. The cans are holding up. We're down to 1 can now, sitting there with Orks all around it and power claws. That can is going to be gone next turn, no doubt about it. So that's what we have there. That's the end of the Doppelgangers turn 6. So we've got the final turn 6 for the blood moons next. Bad moons, sorry. Well, that's it. That's the end of turn 6, and the Bad Moons have, at the last minute, the 11th hour, come through with a victory. So what we had here is we had this tank here, which was sitting just there, get fired upon and got vaporised. Took a fair few shots across the battle, so held up pretty well. Across here we had the Weird Boy attack group of Gretchen there and obviously carve those guys up. We had combined firepower from here and here take out 2 trucks that was there, and also the trucks were assaulted by some power claws coming through as well. Over this side we had the Grot tank turn around and fire into a truck. Didn't really do anything, but it's sitting there very exposed, but we're at the end of turn 6, so that doesn't really matter. And there was 1 final truck that was assaulted over here, and the Bad Moons control that area too. So final count of units: Bad Moons, 1, 2, 3, another one there and there, versus Snickrot's group, which is really untouched pretty much, and some Blood Axe Commandos there. And over this side, the final killer can died or got destroyed, and there's a mob of boys there and another one there. So overall, slight victory to the Bad Moons. Now at this stage I will go and finish off the storyline and move on to the next battle. Alright, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.